In 1931, a loaf of bread cost 9 cents. Unemployment had reached 25%. Somewhere in a tenement kitchen in Chicago or a dust-blown farmhouse in Oklahoma, a mother stood at a single pot on a wood smoke-scented stove, looking at almost nothing and deciding it had to be enough. Today, we are counting down 25 forgotten meals that carried American families through the darkest decade of the 20th century. Watch until the end, because the one truth about Depression cooking will change how you think about food forever. Number 25, creamed peas on toast. Canned peas in a simple white sauce, poured over day-old toast. The WPA actually recommended this in their official cooking pamphlets. Your grandmother never called it poverty food. She called it Tuesday night supper. Number 24, wild greens and pokeweed. In the hills of Kentucky and West Virginia, families walked roadsides gathering dandelions, pokeweed, and watercress. When the garden failed and the pantry was bare, the earth itself became the grocery store. Number 23, fried salt pork and drippings gravy. Salt pork kept without refrigeration, which mattered enormously since only 8% of American homes had a refrigerator in 1930. Fried in cast iron and served with drippings gravy over bread, it was heavy, salty, and exactly enough to keep a man searching for work through another long day. Number 22, vinegar pie. No fruit, no lemon. Just vinegar, sugar, butter, and a thin custard baked in a pie crust. The vinegar mimicked tartness just enough to make a hard day feel like it ended with something sweet. It is almost entirely gone today, and that is its own kind of grief. Number 21, cornmeal mush. Eaten hot with butter at dinner, then poured into a pan to set, sliced thin, and fried for breakfast the next morning. One pot of cornmeal became 2 meals. Your grandmother knew this without being taught it in any school. Here's where things get personal. These are not just recipes, they are survival strategies written in flour and water by people who had nothing left but their ingenuity. A woman feeding 5 children on $1 a week was not cooking from tradition. She was engineering, calculating calories, and tricking hunger into feeling satisfied. If any of these meals brought back a memory, tell us in the comments below. And if you are new here, please subscribe. These stories deserve to be heard. Number 20, milk toast. Buttered toast broken into a bowl. Warm milk poured over it until it softened into something between a porridge and a pudding. A child's meal, an invalid's meal. Quiet and soft and almost heartbreaking in its simplicity. Number 19, potato pancakes. Grated potatoes, egg, onion, and salt fried in lard until the edges crisped gold. Central and Eastern European immigrant families brought this recipe to American cities, and Depression tables adopted it. Wholesale, because a cellar full of potatoes could feed a family for months. Number 18, meatloaf with oat extender. A small amount of ground beef stretched with oats, potatoes, and ketchup to feed 6 people on what might have a fed 2. The smell of it baking, low and savory, drifting through a small house, meant something. It meant tonight there was enough. Number 17, navy bean soup with ham hock. Dried navy beans simmered for hours with a single ham hock for flavor. Government relief programs distributed dried beans widely because they were cheap, shelf-stable, and rich in protein. It is one of the few Depression-era meals still simmering in farmhouse kitchens across America today. Number 16, cabbage soup. Cabbage kept for months without refrigeration, simmered with whatever came to hand, an onion, a potato, a scrap of salt pork. It cost almost nothing and asked for nothing but time. Number 15, Depression style egg drop soup. Brown potatoes, onions, salted broth, and scrambled eggs stirred in at the end, served over crusty bread. Clara Canucheri, who demonstrated how she cooked during the Depression before she passed in 2013, reminded an entire generation that necessity and deliciousness are not opposites. Number 14, liver loaf. Ground liver pressed into a loaf and baked, nutritious, filling, and deeply unfashionable the moment prosperity returned. We lost something when we decided that certain cuts were beneath us. Number 13, oatmeal with raisins. Cooked oats were the standard Depression breakfast across the country, and raisins were a small luxury that made a child feel cared for on an uncertain morning. Your grandmother understood that something warm and dependable at the start of the day was not a small thing at all. Number 12, peanut butter and onion sandwich. Depression-era pamphlets genuinely recommended this. cheap protein paired with a pungent, filling vegetable. Children carried it to school wrapped in wax paper and nobody thought twice. In 1933, it was lunch, and get this: foraging, nose-to-tail cooking, zero-waste kitchens, batch cooking from whole grains. Every technique the Depression generation used out of desperation is now sold as a wellness trend. They did it not because it was fashionable, but because it was the only way to keep the family alive. Hit the like button and subscribe for more forgotten American wisdom. Number 11, pasta and peas. Italian immigrant families stretched pasta with canned peas, dressed simply with olive oil or tomato. Ettore Boiardi, who founded the Chef Boyardee Company in 1928, helped bring affordable pasta into American kitchens, and a humble old country dish became one of the new country's great survival foods. Number 10, potato soup. Water, potatoes, butter if you had it, onion if you were lucky. A pot of potato soup stretched to the next day with a little added water, and the smell of onion softening on the stove was the sound of a family being held together. Number 9, beans on toast, canned or dried beans on thick bread. Considered a substantial meal in 1933, and people were quietly grateful for it. For one decade, beans on toast was supper, and supper was enough. Number 8, dandelion salad. Gathered free from roadsides and backyards, rich in iron and vitamins, boiled with a scrap of bacon or eaten raw with vinegar. They were the strange gift of a season that offered the earth's own pantry when all others were empty. Number 7, cream chipped beef on toast. Dried salted beef in a cream sauce poured over toast. Families adopted it because dried beef kept on a shelf for months without spoiling. The real genius was the sauce, which transformed a tough scrap of meat into something almost luxurious. Number 6, mock apple pie. Ritz crackers soaked in sugar syrup, cream of tartar, and cinnamon, baked inside a real pie crust. A mother who served this on a Sunday afternoon was telling her children something important. That sweetness was still possible, even now. Number 5, wacky cake. No eggs, no butter, no milk, just flour, sugar, cocoa, oil, vinegar, and water, mixed directly in the baking pan. It went quietly viral during the pandemic when a new generation discovered it. Your grandmother made it not because it was a trend. She made it because it was what she had. Number 4, cornbread in milk. A square of leftover cornbread, cold buttermilk poured over it until it softened. In the South, this was not a backup meal. This was supper. Generations sat at the kitchen table, called it enough, and meant it. Number 3, Hoover stew, macaroni, hot dogs, canned tomatoes, and corn, named with bitterness after a president many felt had abandoned his people. It was cheap, filling, and carried the quiet anger of a generation alongside its calories. When prosperity returned, no one wanted to remember what they had named after their hunger. Number 2, mulligan stew. Whatever you had, a can of corned beef, half an onion, a saved potato, thrown into one pot. Hobos made it beside railroad tracks. Families made it in tenement kitchens when the week's food had run to its last corners. No recipe exists because mulligan stew was never a recipe. It was a decision to make something from nothing and gather at a table anyway. And number 1, tomato soup bread. Stale bread soaked in canned tomato soup, stretched until a single can fed an entire family. This was the meal that said, I have almost nothing left and I'm still going to feed my children tonight. But here's where it gets truly poignant. This dish, more than any other on this list, is what the Depression generation was really made of. Not despair, ingenuity, not resignation, love, the enduring legacy. These 25 meals were not just food. They were the language a generation used to say we are still here. We are still a family, and tomorrow we will try again. The ingenuity born in those Depression-era kitchens did not disappear when the economy recovered. It lived on in recipes, passed quietly from hand to hand, in the careful way a certain grandmother always used every scrap, in the strange pride of people who never forgot what real scarcity cost. We lost something when we forgot these meals, and in remembering them, perhaps we find something worth keeping. Hit subscribe for more Lost American Memories, and tell us in the comments which of these dishes your family still makes today.